Since 1963, the Alabama Pharmacy Association has honored a member every year with a Bowl of Hygeia Award, the most prestigious award a pharmacist can receive. Please join us tonight as we honor this year's recipient.
My family moved to Satsuma, Alabama in 1963. I just turned 3 and Dan was the much older gentleman of 7. Our families were friends, but our friendship didn't really grow until I went off to Auburn to school. When I started pharmacy school, Dan came back to Auburn to pursue his studies in business and accounting. And for those 3 years, he served as a great mentor and big brother. The 5 adjectives I would use to describe Dan are comfortable, patient, observant, accountable, and proud. The Bowl of Hygeia is not only recognizes pharmacists for their contribution to the profession, but what they gave back to the community. And Dan has given so much back to our hometown of Satsuma. It's kind of a legacy for him. His grandparents were founding members of our community and made it into the wonderful town it is today. One of the things that I admire Dan for is the public library. Our community never had a public library when we were growing up. We had to go to another community to use theirs or have the bookmobile come in. And his mom was with a group of community leaders who decided to have a library. And Fanny passed away before that goal was reached. And Dan continued with her work, and he serves on the Satsuma Public Library Foundation and gives to it tirelessly of his time and efforts. And another thing is through sports. Dan was quite the baseball, or is quite the baseball player. But it was when his son Connor developed an interest in golf, and Dan realized that our local high school did not have a golf team. So Dan went to the proper channels and helped establish a golf team for Satsuma High School. He not only gave through it financially, he served as a mentor for these young men. He went with them to their tournaments, and he also served as their coach. But Dan doesn't limit his community outreach just to his hometown. Each community where the McConaughey family owns a pharmacy, whether it be McIntosh, Milry, or Mount Vernon, Dan has given back to those communities of his time and talents as well. The one thing I think Dan can teach all of us is patience. We live in a world today of immediate gratification, quick closure, signed, sealed, delivered, let's move on. And if you have been around Dan at any time, or if you've been in a meeting with him and noticed, Dan is a very patient person. He sits, he listens, he observes, he takes it all in. Several years ago, before smartphones, we were at the APA Midwinter Conference in Auburn, Alabama. We were seated at dinner, and Dan's beeper went off. He got up, left the table, made his necessary phone call. Gone for a while, we went about our business of eating. We didn't wait on him. And he came back to the table. We all said, well, what was the call about? He said, well, the store of McIntosh is on fire. Well, the 7 remaining people at the table threw our napkins in the air, jumped up, and we're ready to go save the store in McIntosh. And Dan said, no, we'll stay here, finish dinner, probably have dessert, and then we'll do something. And we were just like, Dan, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? But Dan had the patience and the foresight to realize that he was in the best place he could be at the moment. He was at a place where he could stay in constant communication with the fire department, the police, and other city officials who were trying to secure what was left of his pharmacy. Had he jumped up, like we all felt like he should have done, and left, he would have been beeped every 5 minutes going down I-65 and having to pull off at every exit to make a phone from a payphone, make this phone call from a payphone, and he would have been counterproductive. Dan knew that to be patient and to wait was the best thing to do. So in the end, we had dinner, we had dessert, and we all wished Dan well as he headed back home.
I've known Dan probably 20 years or so. Through the association, you don't go to a meeting without talking to Dan. So I've known him that way. Probably over the past 15 years though, being involved with the association, I've got to know him really well. So, I think if I had to describe Dan with 5 adjectives, some people call him laid back. I would say patient would be a better word. He's thoughtful, caring, he's dedicated, and above all, he's determined. I think Dan is deserving of this award because I can't think of anybody that is more passionate and dedicated to his profession and the people that he serves in the communities that he's in. And Dan, I think if you were to go to him and have a need or need help with a problem, he's either going to help you or he's going to find somebody that can. I think the main thing you can learn from Dan is the value of networking. I mean, he can look at problems from all sides, and a lot of his solutions sometimes are outside of the box, but he can work with people. I mean, he's a master at networking with people and trying to solve problems and achieve goals. Well, there's a lot of stories, but I'm not going to go there. I'll tell you a favorite memory would be he and I spent hours driving back and forth to Montgomery in the middle of the night when we were together, working together with the Pharmacy Association, and he would tell stories while we were riding. He can spin yarns that Mark Twain would be proud of. So probably remembering those stories about his family and friends and characters he's known over the years as we pass the time in the middle of the night were probably some of my fondest memories with him. Plus, we probably did some of our better thinking under the influence of caffeine and Mountain Dew.
I'm Lucinda Main, and I work at the American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy in Alexandria, Virginia, and I've known Dan McConaughey for almost 40 years. The 5 words I use to describe him are warm, wise, funny, conscientious, and very Southern. Dan deserves the Bowl of Hygeia for the fact that he carried his family, and specifically his father and mother's tradition of serving their communities so amazingly well. And they are underserved communities north of Mobile. So what could we learn from him? Service, first and foremost. Know the communities that you're serving, know their needs and how to fulfill them, and never hesitate to be bold. I do have a favorite story for Dan. I came to Washington in 1992, and President Clinton came not too long after that. And as we know, he tasked his wife, Hillary, with the responsibility of running the healthcare task force that garnered a lot of attention, even if it didn't make a lot of progress. One day I was sitting in my office just in front of the State Department in Washington, D.C., the American Pharmacists Association, and my phone rang, and Dan was on the other end of the line. He says, "Lucinda, about these Clintons, what do you think they're going to do that will impact my practice?" And I laughed and chuckled and thought about it for a while. And I said, "Well, Dan, if we play our cards right, the Clintons are going to make some of the things you do legal." Now don't gasp about that, because what I meant was that Dan provides so much preventive and primary care in the pharmacies and in the communities that he serves. And it was that hope and aspiration that the Clintons would recognize that pharmacists have important roles to play in that regard. And I think society is finally figuring that out. So thanks to Dan for always being ahead of the curve.
As this year's APA president, my catchphrase has been APA proud. I'm extremely proud of our association and what we stand for in our profession. I'm very proud of our members and the time that they give to help carry forth our mission and promote our profession. And out of that membership, I'm extremely proud of Dan McConaughey. Dan, you have given tirelessly to not only our association, but to our community. I treasure the fact that you're my friend and my brother, and that makes me hometown proud.
What I would say to Dan today is, Dan McConaughey, you have set the bar really high for your fellow pharmacists, both professionally and personally caring about people. I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't consider themselves richer for being able to call you friend. On this special day, I'd like to say congratulations to you on this well-deserving honor.
My final word for Dan is that it has been such a privilege to know you for the last 40 years and be your friend, and I just hope we have 40 more. Thanks and congratulations.